Welcome viewer once again wherever you are. This is your sporting channel, LTN Sports, your arena of sports. As usual, a time like this, we sit down to delve into matters sports and its posts just like any other sports. Today again, I'll be having my visitor here who is well known to you, like we said last time, is Ludwig Duda, former CEO of Football Kenya Federation, a long-serving CEO of Gor Mahia Football Club, and again, one of the best minds and brains that we have in the country in terms of football matters. And I will welcome him into this show. Just today, we want to see and look at matters that affect our Kenyan league. How do we rate our Kenyan league? What is the status of our Kenyan league? Are we producing enough or doing enough to make sure that even at the continental level, we are competitive enough? What about the lower tier leagues? Are they well and properly organized? Are they giving us what we want comparatively to other leagues in the world? That is what today we want to delve into, knowing so well that the league is coming to an end. Just 2 games to go, and yes, we will know who the league champion will be in the next 2 games. Karibu sana Bwana Mkurugenzi.
Thank you very much, Nick. I hope you're doing fine.
I'm fine, no problem.
How was your Madaraka Day?
Madaraka Day was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was so eccentric, when it went there in Homa Bay. It was carnival, should I say. The feeling was carnival, everything looked well organized, and I believe the experience was good as well.
I thought so.
Yeah.
In as much as some people think that you are overtly, excited about Madaraka Day being there, but all the same,
there was every reason.
You give it to them because it's always not every day that Madaraka Day comes to Homa Bay.
And besides, it was the first time ever.
That is true.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now, we are talking about the Kenyan League.
The Kenyan League.
I think at the moment, we have got very little to celebrate about the status of the Kenyan League. Unlike a couple of years ago, where we did find that the status of our league made it possible for the respective clubs to recruit players who eventually turned out for our national team. And the end result of that kind of an achievement saw our national team rise to the 68th position at one point.
Which is the best ever, I think, still.
That is the best ever so far on the FIFA rankings. From there on, we probably hung on a little, but as we kept on sliding, not into the positive aspects, but into the negative aspect with regards to the rankings, and now we find ourselves where we are. 2, we at some point, when the league was vibrant, we found that most of the talented players within the region found it easier to join the Kenyan clubs. Now, they were not just any other player. These were players who, back at home, were equally commanding first 11 positions in their respective national teams. We have the likes of Hali Daucho, we have the likes of Twisenge, we have the likes of Mapunda, we have the likes of Medi Kagere, we have the likes of Sibomana Buba, we like the likes of Walusimbi, the likes of Baba Kizito, Francis Mustafa, Serenkuma, Karim Zigimana. I mean, mention them. That is because the status of our league was above the rest of the countries within the CECAFA region. And that is why, at some point, we found that at the club level, those clubs were doing slightly better when it came to, CAF inter-club competitions. The apex of such kind of a sterling performance was last evidenced, I think, 6 years ago. Way back in 2019, when some of those players that I have mentioned helped to propel Gor Mahia to the quarterfinal stage, which eventually they lost against the current Confederations Cup champions, Berkane. And thereafter, we have not seen the kind of performance being replicated. Now, I would probably look at why are we not where we ought to be. We do realize that prior to achieving such of the performances that I've mentioned, we had a lean league, which comprised a lean Premier League, which comprised of 16 clubs. What was the advantage? The advantage was that the players had ample time because the matches were few. With the increase of the teams participating in the Premier League to 18, meant that there was an increase in the number of matches that each team was supposed to play. Actually, a total of 34 matches. Now, these are besides the knockout, tournament, the current day FKF Mozart Cup tournament. And that is also besides the players participating in the international, competitions, where we have the FIFA World Cup qualifiers, as well as both the CHAN, CAF CHAN, and CAF AFCON qualifiers. Now, this number of tournaments or matches indeed bring pressure to bear upon the players.
Well stated, but again, I don't know, could there be a problem? Because those moments that you talk about are moments that actually underline some very memorable moments in our Kenyan football. I remember Gor Mahia even going unbeaten in 2015 those days. But some people say from elsewhere, that the moment the federation took up running off the Kenya Premier League and took it away from the Kenya Premier League Limited, that is where the rain began beating us. Is there any correlation to this bad league that we currently are witnessing? Is there anything you can put into it? And can you give a comparative analysis between then and now?
Well, it is true. The league management, after the expiry of the mandate that had been given to the Kenya Premier League Limited, has been wanting, truth be said. And it has come with a lot of, discrepancies with respect to the administration and management of the Kenyan Premier League. More so after, the management resorted back to the federation. That is not to say that the federation, well, let me put it this way. The league is a product, one of the products of the federation. But we are also alive to the fact that even at FIFA level, you know, the statutes allow the clubs to form themselves into a league. Their statutes will be subordinate to the federation, but they can be given the autonomy, yeah, to form themselves up in a manner that they can be responsible, you know, for the day-to-day management of the league as a body, as a board.
So what you are saying, what it implies therefore is that the federation has the right over running of the league, but they can subsequently give credence or contractual agreements. They can do something about management of the league by giving it to other entities to run on their behalf.
Well, that is what even the FKF constitution stipulates. And that is the best practice the world over. We can easily use the example of our close-door neighbors, Tanzania, which are doing exactly what we used to do 80 years ago.
TFF has contracted an independent body running the
there
league.
There is the Tanzania Premier League Board, TPL, yeah, which is an autonomous, you know, board discharged with the responsibility, answerable to the TFF, but discharged with the responsibility of management and administration of the Premier League in Tanzania. Now, there are certain salient, you know, benefits that come with such kind of an arrangement. Besides having very clear-cut, you know, administrative channels, we also find that it is important for the clubs, yeah, to syndicate some of their rights and be able to exploit their rights, you know, from one particular point. I do remember having also been part and parcel of the formation of the then Kenya Premier League Limited, yeah, way back in 2006, thereabout. We had to even second some of the club officials, you know, to go and, you know, benchmark. At some point, I remember we must have given an opportunity to 3 chairmen then to go down to South Africa to go and understudy what was happening at PSL, you know, the board, the company that runs the South African Premier League. You know, so they came back with the best practices that were making, you know, the South African Premier League vibrant. Yeah. We did adopt some of those proposals, and we could see, you know, the period when the league management was under the Kenya Premier League Limited, which was wholly owned by the clubs that participate in the Apex League in the country.
The Kenya Premier League.
Right. The Kenya Premier League was not a separate entity as such. It was a company owned specifically by the clubs. I mean, there was an arrangement where, for instance, at the end of the season, a club was relegated. They had to transfer their shares to those clubs that got promoted. Now, one of the good points then, I do remember that through the Kenya Premier League Limited, there were certain exchange programs, you know. There were certain exchange programs, and there were equally, you know, opportunities that the club the club officials, either the chairman or the CEOs, even traveled to go and, you know, witness firsthand how some of, you know, the clubs in La Liga or in Germany, you know, were being run. So with that kind of an exposure and experience that these club officials learned from wherever they were or they had gone to, they came back and implemented this in the respective clubs.
Okay, okay. Now, from what you're saying, there was a lot of learning from these exchange trips and programs that were happening, and therefore it yielded to something that was a competitive bit of it. Would you advise right now the present federation to follow suit and ensure that the league is run autonomously under their watch? And this, from your explanation, would help us change the course of this league.
That is absolutely true because I am not demeaning anybody at the federation at the moment, but what I know is that the people discharged with that responsibility do not have what it takes, you know, to run the top tier league.
Are you saying the federation is not well informed on this?
Well, they could be well informed,
Yeah.
but from what I gather is that some people think that it is a product that should be left for them for purposes of their own, you know, end games, and that will not take us anywhere. Part of the advantages, for instance, you find that during the days when the league was being run, managed under KPL, we could syndicate the rights. We had both the broadcasting partner in the name and style of Super Sport, yeah. And we also had in the name of title sponsor, yeah, KBL. That is why we had Tusker Premier League. And I believe at some point we also had Super Sports, Sports Pesa.
Sports Pesa, yeah.
Right? And all these were meant to bring in the much needed finances to the clubs. Prior to the commencement of the new season, I am aware that all the 16 clubs got an advance from the Kenya Premier League for preparations in terms of pre-season, or others who used the amounts to recruit some of the best players that whose services they were going to require during the new season.
The ensuing season.
Then there were subsequent, solidarity distributions every month that at some point probably combined was about 750,000 per month, which, given those days was a lot substantial amount of money that helped some of these clubs to even pay, commensurate salaries then.
So now, in your imagination or in your feeling, you feel that this is supposed to happen how soon?
Like yesterday.
Like yesterday. FKF, your work is cut out. It's not easy sometimes, but again, it has to happen. Because ideally, right now, if the league again begins the same way we are, it might be going even lower than what we are seeing right now. However, I'm hearing rumors around the corner that a sponsor would be coming who will be tying a 15-year deal with the federation. I don't know whether that is true, but in the grapevine something like that is being spoken. But, well, we wish them all the best. But we want the league back, Mr. Duda. We want the league back. We want to see competitiveness. We want to see teams playing. We want to see better players. We want to see our national team also shine like it were those days. So you say it has to happen like yesterday.
Yes, I'm very candid with my statement because I know the benefits of giving the league an autonomy. We are now seeing our players crossing over to Tanzania.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Soon we will see our players crossing over to Uganda. Others, from what I know is happening in Rwanda, we will soon see our players crossing over to Rwanda.
To the Rwandan League.
Now, these are not just any other player. Yeah? These will be our topmost players.
The best that we would be having.
The best that we would be having. Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, if we have the best of our local players moving across, then chances are that we will not have a competitive league, one.
Yeah.
Two is that once we do not have a competitive league, then it means that the status of the brand will also not attract,
Financiers and well-wishers.
and well-wishers. And three, it will more or less be the death of our local football in terms of the players who would be turning out for CHAN.
Well, you hear it from Lord Vicar Duda. It's a situation that we don't want to find ourselves in. However, I know that at the federation right now, things are still so new. But again, you have to move away from that and into the league. Right now, Kenya Police, Gor Mahia, and Tusker maybe. On this other end, on the Mozart side, we have a final that is pitting Gor Mahia against Nairobi United. Winners in these two competitions will be going to the continental level to represent Kenya at the confederations and one at the Champions League. Do you think these teams that are going out there can compete at that level?
At the moment, I am a patriotic Kenyan, but in as much as I'm a patriotic Kenyan, I must also be factual. We will honor the fixtures at whatever level.
Honoring or participating?
We will honor the fixtures.
Go on. Why are we honoring the fixtures?
Because we will not be competing.
We'll merely be there and come back.
That is what I'm saying. I mean, for you to compete at either of the tournaments,
Yeah.
the Champions League or at the Confederations Cup, you must have your best, which we currently do not have.
In the Kenyan League?
In the Kenyan League, I'm sorry, and that is the hard truth. I know people will say that
Gor Mahia has Gor Mahia has Austin Odhiambo.
No.
Gor Mahia has Sylvester Wino.
No.
Gor Mahia has we have Omija. There are people who are regular call-ups. People like Alpha Nyango.
I am talking out of experience.
Are you intimating that these are not people who are supposed to be qualified to play in these competitions?
I am talking about experience.
Go ahead.
We could have individual talents, but we do not have structured squads which are all-rounders to be able to compete. The last time we played against Simba as Gor Mahia, I was the chief executive officer then. We played against Simba in the finals of the East African Sports Pesa Super Cup.
In Dar?
No. We played Simba at Afraha Stadium in 2018.
Yeah, in Nakuru. I remember it was in Nakuru.
Where we beat Simba 2-0. And that is the match that gave us an opportunity to be the first African team to play at Goodison Park against Everton.
Yeah.
2018 to 2025 basically is about 6 years. Within those 6 years, Simba has managed to get into quarters, semis, and eventually, 2 weeks ago,
The finals.
they were the losing finalists of the Confederations Cup. The last time we played against Yanga in the group stages of CC was in 2019. I was the chief executive officer then of Gor Mahia. We beat Yanga 4-1 in Nairobi. And during the return leg in Dar es Salaam, we equally emerged victorious by beating Yanga 3-2 at the famous Benjamin Mkapa Stadium in Dar es Salaam. 6 years down the line, Yanga has been, the losing finalists by an aggregate goal.
In the Champions League.
In the CC.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was Confederations Cup, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The best we have done within those 6 years as Gor Mahia has been to get to the second preliminary.
Not quarters?
The second preliminaries. Because the last, when we beat Yanga, home and away, that is when we ended up being knocked out by Berkane, the current champions,
Berkane.
at the quarterfinals. Yeah. Of course, which we also lost, not because the team or the squad was not up to speed, but because of the traveling mishaps that we had. Yeah. We remember the debacles of a section getting to Morocco through France, a section getting to Morocco through Dubai, that section
so disorganized there.
Yes, it was purely not, the administration's mistake, because we were given tickets by the Ministry of Sports. So there are times when people thought that this was a disorganization from the club management. That is far from the truth, all right? But what am I saying? I am saying that these are the teams who are now perennial, participants in the respective CAF interclub competitions, have got it right. And that's why they compete. They just don't honor the fixtures.
They compete.
They compete.
And make good money.
They make good money, but they equally expose their players, right? I do remember a time when, during the FIFA window, like we are at the moment, I would lose about 12 players to the respective national teams. Why 12? Because the 5 foreigners all collapsed back to their national teams. Karim would go and captain Burundi. Abuba would get back to Rwanda. Aucho and Walusimbi back to Cranes. Jack would get back to Amavubi, Rwanda. Then we had about 7 players in the national Harambee Stars. So
basically you not have a team.
And that is why I equally had the Wakulima, the second stream, which was equally lethal. You remember, it is that team that managed to beat AFC 3-0 in the first Super Cup match, which was played in Dar es Salaam in 2017. Now, that depicts, the depth of the squad that we had at that particular time. You remember at some point, even Tusker, previously Breweries, were knocked out in the finals, of what today is the CC. You remember even at some point, AFC Leopards lost, to Leventis at the semi-final stage, you see. So they were not just honoring fixtures. These clubs were not just honoring fixtures.
They were participating.
They were participating, right? But in the last 6 years or so, yeah, 5 years or so, none of the Kenyan top clubs have gone beyond the second preliminary.
Now, CEO, then these 5 years, 6 to 5 years, have been our declining phase in terms of football.
Right.
And as we close, because I know it's so interesting to talk to you, but again, as we close down because of time, what should be done in the next 1 minute, perhaps, before we say goodbye to the viewers? What, in your observation, must be done, because this has to be fixed? Kenya is a footballing powerhouse in the region. We can't take this lull for too long. Something has to happen.
Two quick things. One, get the money into the league. Two, the clubs use the money to hire top quality players. Three, can we plan adequately to compete, not just to participate?
Even in Chan, you don't see us having any chance, CEO, because we are winding up. Even at the Chan that you'll be hosting here, don't you even have any kind of words for us?
Well, what are our preparations at the moment? We, for instance, during this FIFA week, we are out in Morocco to play
Chad.
Against Chad.
Yeah.
What is Chad's ranking at the FIFA, level? I mean, if you want to progress, you don't play against people who are lower than you.
So if you want to be a champion, you have to fight a champion.
That is the thing. We have not been given a calendar to prepare, our team, so that we can adequately compete at Chan. I mean, let's be practical. I'm not against anybody. But we are talking about football. Football is not instant coffee. Football is about preparations.
It's a process.
It's a process,
Well, it sounds a bit unpatriotic. But then listening to him, you listen to somebody who is packaged with a lot of sense and facts. And indeed, that is where we must fix. This boat is leaking badly, and somebody has to stand up and mend it. I hope the federation at helm right now, your work is cut out. Playing Chad, who are lowly. I don't know whether we could get anybody else. Well, it is your sports arena. This is the only place you can get such talk, and from people who have this amount of experience. I also cherish those moments when Gor would go and play in Everton, rather in Goodison Park, in Liverpool, and all this time. Yes, all is not lost. We can start again. We can do it. 6 years of decline should stop now. This season coming, let's make things right. Asante sana, CEO, for again making your time to be with us here. It's always interesting to be with you because of so much that you have. I know we'll still be tapping from your overflowing well of knowledge of football, even in days to come. So don't go away. If you have any questions, please channel them in your comment section. We will give them to CEO here. He has all that you want in terms of football knowledge. And indeed, I've been your host for this program, Nico Kelo. Till we meet again, thank you very much.